work with the community engagement plan. I don't feel really like I think not sure that we really did that connected together with the police like it should have. And so I would disagree with that because we have experience with that versus the others. We don't know about the other components, but with that, I think that we were given something and it kind of went through, and now our job is to make sure that all those things actually come about and maybe get added to next time around. So that's the one I struggle with.
And I just want to mention there that the subcommittee on settlement agreement and policy hosted a forum with the police department about the community engagement plan. We asked questions about it. We brought recommendations to the full board. We passed those and they were integrated into the plan. Could we have done more? Sure. But I just want to make sure that we remember what exactly we have done in this arena.
Thank you.
Mr. Sachs, final word.
I don't really have anything to add. I echo what the city attorney said and what Mr. Rosenbaum said. And I feel that according to the legality of the document, that substantial compliance has been met. But that, again, doesn't mean that we are where we want to be. There's still a lot of work left to do. And PSEP, Portland Committee on Community Engaged Policing, to me, means being engaged with the police and vice versa, the community and the police engaged. That takes a lot of trust and relationship building, and PSEP has to be a part of that and leading that, and we still have a lot of work to do in that area.
Thank you. We're going to open it up to 10 minutes of public comment. Just be mindful of time, but we'll try and get to as many folks as we can. Go ahead. Please state your name.
My name's Tim Ledwith. I'm a housing case manager with transition projects, and for the last 2 years I worked as a residential advocate at our Willamette Center shelter. I just wanted to comment that earlier it was spoken that working with the houseless was not within the confines of the agreement, but from my perspective, working in the shelter system and working with houseless people, when I first started the job, they would talk about how people with mental health crisis would fall through the cracks into our system, and I learned quickly that no, it's more the opposite. There isn't a sufficient, as was talked about with Unity, there isn't sufficient alternatives, and occasionally people fall out of the criminal justice system, the shelter system, and the streets into proper mental health care. Very seldomly. Usually they cycle right back. So in terms of when we are dealing with somebody with a mental health crisis at our shelter, which are not equipped to deal with them, our options are call the police, call 911, or call Project Respond, which is just calling Project Respond who comes with the police. Or sometimes, like the other day, they just called 911 for me. So, and I benefited recently from a police officer who laid it out for me, like what was going to happen when we have multiple people in severe mental health crisis in the shelter. He said, well, you can let them just tire out, or what will happen is violence. We will have to take this person who doesn't want to come. I'll have to call for backup. They could get hurt. My people can get hurt, and everyone's going to witness it. And I was like, those are the two options. So I think that system is incredibly broken, and I think that I don't see how working with the houseless population doesn't fit within the agreement. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan Handelman again with Portland Cop Watch. Before I forget, we have our newsletter here, which any of you didn't get, please come see me and get it. You have 4 recommendations. First one, vehemently oppose the proposal as it's made. We sent a proposal to the steering committee that the majority should be a majority of seated members, not the people sitting in the room, but the number of people who are actually seated. So you're missing 1 now, so you only have 12. So right now, the number that you need to pass should be 7, I guess, still. But at the time you took that vote, one person hadn't gone through training, so there were only 10 seated members at that time. And then that would have passed with 6 votes, as happened. The end result is, otherwise, you can have 4 people on this committee out of 13 making decisions for the whole committee and saying, yes, this is what the PCCP believes. And I think, especially given the diversity of people on this board, you should consider that is not an appropriate way to do the voting. So the reason that the number is so high, and it's not just under state law and the majority of people are sitting at your table, is to make sure that your voices are all included. The house list data is the only thing I have to comment on in your second one. I think it's an excellent thing to say this body, which is supposed to independently assess the implementation of the agreement. You shouldn't be letting these people tell you you can't do that. You're doing what you're supposed to do. You're independently assessing it. The only thing that's wrong is the house list data, the IPR did their own report and they found out that the Bureau only has one thing to write in if somebody refuses to give their address. So some people who are listed as houseless may be just people who didn't give an address. So we don't know for sure that it's 50%. I don't think you need to change it for that, but you should be aware of that as you're using that statistic. The third one, we agree with that one. We have a whole section in our analysis about the Unity Center not being adequate walk-in drop-off center. And the fourth one is really out of our wheelhouse, so I'm not going to comment on that. The last thing, we're talking about whether violations are systemic or not. And I talked already about the police shootings. If you look at the police review board reports, and I recommend that you use some hand sanitizer after you do. An example of the kind of thing that's going on is that there was a case where the Citizen Review Committee found misconduct for untruthfulness, which would lead to an automatic firing. And the chief, subsequently to that, even though she said she agreed with her finding, changed the allegation to a performance problem. And so the officer was given, I think it was 1 day off, or either 1 or 3 days off without pay. So this is one instant, but this is a systemic problem if the chief can change what the finding is at the end of this long investigation and the Citizen Review Committee appeal, then she changes what the finding is. So I want you to look at that. I have some copies of our analysis here. We also tried sending it to you on email. Thank you.
Dan, could I ask you a question? The bylaws I have in front of me under voting say majority of seats. They don't say seated members.
That's what I'm saying. I proposed to you to change that to the majority of seated members.
Oh, okay.
Right? That's my recommendation, to change that proposal so that it recommends, that it reflects that 4 people can't make a decision for 13 people.
And just for clarification, Elliot, your recommendation would change it to be majority of people who are at the meeting.
Once a quorum is met, yeah,
Once a
members present.
Okay, but that wouldn't change necessarily anything here today. Any other public comment?
Alexa Simpson. Discussing financial responsibility being set in care of CCOs versus the city should be carefully examined, as there's no checks and balance system in place to alleviate and prevent further displacement and gentrification. It falls upon the city to be held equally as responsible if demolition and development continues, leading to trauma and unresolved and compounding and ever-growing mental health diagnoses due to the lack of access to those resources. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it okay if I make further comment? I don't know if it's...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Got about 2 minutes left.
Sure, okay. I just wanted to clarify, because people brought up, that the CCOs were supposed to be the main responsible parties, and that's true. That is in the item directly. The reason I was focusing on the actual COCOL evaluation of compliance was because what they were saying made them in compliance was that the PPB was sufficiently partnering with the Unity Center for Behavioral Health. And so the fact that that compliance rested on the partnership is connected to why we're putting it more on the city. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thanks.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay, any changes based on the feedback we just received to any of these 4 recommendations? All right, we are going to go recommendation by recommendation and vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one recommendation you mentioned, I think we could change that.
Which one? Could you state it for us, just so we know what you're talking about? Use your microphone.
Yeah, I am. Where was it?
Oh, the part about COIL and PSEP being discussed?
I
You mean
think,
the bylaw one?
yeah, I
That's
can,
why there's no.
no, the one where we could just remove PSEP from that.
Okay, the first sentence,
Yeah,
where it says, item 89 is arguably the most expensive and complicated portion of the settlement agreement.
yeah.
Okay. So that first sentence is striked from the,
No, just or PSEP. I think.
oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
so just strike PSEP from it.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is recommendation on item 89, support from Multnomah County Resource Center. It's the one-pager, and it reads, and yet it has not been discussed by COEB or PSEP, and Patrick is striking out or PSEP from that, so it would just read, has not been discussed by the COEB, period. COEB. Okay, so we are gonna vote on recommendation number 1. Was there a title for that? Bylaw change? We'll just call it bylaw change. We're gonna go right down the row, starting with Sam. So we want a yes, no, or abstain vote for recommendation on the bylaw change.
Yes.
Steve,
Yes.
Yolanda,
Yes.
Andrew,
No.
No.
Lakeisha, no?
Yes.
Marcia? No, for me. Go ahead.
I think with the bylaws one, it's a little confusing because there was too many things thrown out. But as it was read,
The change would be that it's whoever is present at the meeting. So if we have, barring quorum, correct?
Provided we have the quorum of 7.
Okay,
first and then
so I just voted no. Amy?
yes.
Elliot?
Yes.
Vadim? Britt?
No.
Patrick?
yes.
Okay, so that passes with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 votes. Recommendation 2, recommendation to define outcomes for substantial compliance. We're gonna start with Steve. Oh, sorry, Sam.
No.
Steve.
No.
Yolanda.
No.
Andrew.
No.
Lakeisha.
Abstain.
Marcia.
Abstain.
Lakiana, yes. Amy.
Yes.
Elliot.
Yes.
Vadim. That was a no vote. Britt.
Abstain.
And Patrick.
Yes.
Okay, that was voted down. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 no's. 1, 2, 3, 4 yeses. And 3 abstains. 1, 2, 3. Okay, recommendation 3. This is the, I need that one again. Recommendation to reevaluation and update of item 89, starting with Sam.
No.
Steve,
Yes.
Yolanda,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Lakeisha,
Yes.
Marcia,
Yes.
Lakiana, yes. Amy,
Need a little clarification.
sure, go ahead.
What's the yes and no vote about?
The yes is saying that the COCO should reevaluate and update their substantial compliance of item 89.
Okay, then I vote yes.
Yep. Elliot,
Yes.
Vadim? There's a no vote. Britt?
Yes.
And Patrick?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 yeses and 2 noes. For that. And then recommendation number 4 is,
So just to be clear, that one passed.
correct, sorry, yes, that
Under
one passed.
any version of the bylaws.
Yep. Support for Multnomah County Resource Center. That's 25% that the city would pay for, starting with Sam.
No.
Steve,
Yes.
Yolanda,
Yes.
Andrew,
No.
Lakeisha,
Abstain.
Marcia,
Yes.